What's going on, everybody? We're going to do some work and some small things on the 72 Chevelle build today. So if you're unfamiliar with this or you're new to the channel, I'll give you a quick rundown on what we got here. So this is a 1972 Chevelle, stock frame, full ride tech suspension with a 9-inch, Willwood brakes front and rear. This is a 496 Roush Yates big block, 650 horse at the crank, and we're putting this together. So this is either going to go together for us to sell at Barrett-Jackson, or if it sells prior to Barrett-Jackson, like the 71 C10 did, we're be building it for somebody. Interior is a mix of TMI parts and factory parts. Pretty much all the door panels and the rear quarter panels, dash, center console is not factory, but all that stuff is going to be factory. This column, do not worry, this is all coming out, getting a nice new column. This is just so we can move it around the shop. Ton of little touches. We're using Sanders hot rods, pull handles, so no more. These actually pull out like cool, like a newer car. Front to back, American Auto Wire harness, Dakota Digital's vintage air, you know, the works. So today we're going to be working on a few things. The guys got all the window mechanisms in and all the door latch mechanisms, but we still have to put the lock rods in and a few other things. And the windows are going to go in once we get those outside handles on, because with the windows in, it's kind of a pain in the butt to get to these bolts, and I'd rather not struggle with it. Rear quarter windows are in, obviously. Glass guy is coming some point next week to put in the windshield, the back window, both of them in the square body project. Yes, this is the color it's going to be. Just wait for the vision. And both of them in the 71 C10 project, back window and front window. What we have today is this RainGear wiper systems setup. So this is a hidden wiper motor setup. If you know these A-bodies, pretty much any classic muscle car, GM, Ford, it doesn't really matter. Your wiper motor mounts right there, and it's out in the open in the engine bay. What this kit does is mounts, well, we'll show you over here first. It mounts everything in your wiper pocket in here. The motor, everything mounts in here, so nothing is sticking through that hole. And then they give you a block off to go where your wiper motor used to stick through to make it nice and flat and flush. If you wanted to be fancy, you could weld the whole thing closed, but as we were already painted, we just took their block off and color matched it, and we'll put some stainless button heads or possibly black ones. I think we're doing all black stuff in this one. So this is a really nice setup. I put it all in and hooked up power and ground with my jumpers yesterday just to check the function of everything. It still is just a 2-speed, high speed, low speed. It does keep, it's got a push function for your washer if you're going to be using that. With this, you'll have to use an electric washer pump. Factory, they had the stupid mechanical thing on the wiper motor itself. They suck. They never worked great. But this is nice and quiet, nice and tight. No more loose linkage or anything. It does not come with these attached to your main center brace or the motor attached to it. I bench assembled it. They said you should, just to get familiar with it. As I've never done one of these before, I wanted to. So now we're going to go through and follow the instructions. This is all the stuff it comes with, your choice of switch, and these are all your parts, wiring, everything. They give you everything. And if you're using a factory dash, they say this fits right in the factory dash because it's a factory style switch. So that's good as well. They give you your what there is of a wiring diagram in there. And there's a couple of holes you got to drill. One is your pass through for the wires, and I believe one is for a mount support for this. But let me tear this back down, and then we'll go in step by step and put this in. Oh, I will say, they say it's much easier to do with the hood off, which sucks because we just literally put the hood on here yesterday. All right, so I've got everything back disassembled again so you can see. So you have your wiper transmission assembly, which includes your 2 pivots. You have your main bracket, which they call the body, and then you have your wiper motor. So the first thing you're going to do, and I'll be completely honest, my installation is going to be a lot different and a lot more easier than most of yours because this vehicle is almost all the way stripped back down. But if you were doing this from stock, you would remove your wiper motor, your old transmission, all this stuff. So all I have left is my old transmission. So I'm going to pull this whole transmission assembly out and get rid of that. All right, wiper transmission is out. This is good. If it's in good condition, keep it because you will sell this. People love these things. These things wipe out and wear out or seize up, and they're expensive as hell if you can find them. Another thing to always keep is your small 8mm screws that come out, because these are a special conical head washer, and 9 out of 10 times people forget to save those, and then you got to go searching on Classic Industries or wherever to get those. So don't throw this stuff out. Next up, you have to drill a 5/8 hole in here for your wire pass-through. This is where it's going to be much easier for me than it is for most people. This is also why they tell you to take the hood off, because this is a crappy angle to get to, even with a right angle drill. But you're going to go from your hole that the wiper motor used to come through and basically straight across and drill a 5/8 hole down through. Me, I'm just going to do it on this side. The hole is drilled and the wiring is in. They say to leave about 10 inches of slack in there until you get the motor and everything put in, and then you can pull it through and out into the cab of the vehicle to eliminate some of that slack. But when I get done, if this is not in the way of any of the rotating mechanisms, I'm going to leave the slack in there because you've got a ton of wire on the inside, and it's always good to have a little bit of slack out here in case you have to move or adjust anything. All right, next up after that is we're going to install this transmission assembly. Now this bolts in just like stock. If you look, you got your 2 mount bolts, it goes right in there, and this side has the 3, just like stock. So we're going to put this up in there, get that in there, and then comes the tricky part, which is getting the rest of this stuff up in there because it's very tight quarters and it's very hard to film, but I'll do my best. Okay, so that's in. As you can see, move my main arm and that moves. Same with that one over there. I did have to do a little bit of clearancing around here, and same thing on that one. That one was just barely just a hair metal. This one, the seam sealer, was coming down and stopping the brass because this is a lot bigger diameter than the factory through stud is. So I also don't have these all the way tightened yet because putting the main bridge in that connects these two, I feel like I'm going to have a little bit of movement in these to get it in. And then once, before final assembly is all done, because the old bolt had a big washer here, we will touch all that up and touch where I had to clearance all this up with paint so we don't get any rust. All right, so as I said, next is the main bridge, and it goes in, as you can see, there's a round end, there's a sharp end, goes in just like this, and it's going to mount to the bolts that are on the bottom of your pivot stud brackets. And full disclosure, they say this is a SOB to get up and bolt in those 2 onto the studs and those 2. So let's give it a go. Whew, okay, we are in now. That main center brace is bolted into both of these sides. Everything is still plenty of clearance and free. I will tell you on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not fun, 10 being super fun, this was a negative 3,000. Leave everything loose throughout the entire thing, and then you're going to do a lot of positioning. Also, it helps if you have a 6th sense and you're blind, because then you're usually better with working in areas that you can't see. But yeah, getting those 2 bolts that are here that mount to this bracket and the ones on that side were no fun at all. As you can see, my mirror is still in there. Let's see. You can see those 2 bolts right there. And also, to get those, this is the easier side. To get those, you're going to use, let me go grab what I used for toolage. About a 3-inch extension and a shallow socket. Has to be a shallow socket because the main rod for your transmission cross member is right about here. So if you use a deep socket, you can't get the right angle and you're not going to be able to tighten them. But yeah, super fun. Up next, the motor assembly. Can't wait. So next up, you drop your motor in here like I've already done. And this is going to go, this got a stud on the bracket that goes down through that last hole. These two go up through a hole. Let's see if I can get you in there. Right here and right here. I do not know how I'm going to get those. I know I can get them with a wrench. The problem is getting those two nuts started, but we'll figure it out. So this is going to basically, let's see if I can get this in here. Here we go. This is going to bolt up just like that. I told you it's going to be really hard to film this with the hood on, but I'm just here by myself today, and I'm not manhandling this thing off myself. It's just not an option. All right, so I got it positioned in there with the nut that goes on from this way that's on the far end. An awesome thing and a not awesome thing they do is all their hardware is stainless. That's awesome because it won't rust. That's not awesome because now I've got to get a nut on there and a nut on there, and that would be far easier if these were magnetic and I could kind of finagle it in there with my small magnet and get a thread caught. So here we go on this part. I think this is going to be the part that's even worse than the part I just did. All right, so somehow by the grace of our Lord and Savior Chip Foose, I was able to get these in pretty easy. So all three are in, those two and the one that you can't see on that side. So as I said, that one comes up from underneath, super easy to get. So these ones, I basically took a 11mm box end wrench and put the nut in the box side, had just enough of a turn on there to get these started, and then just tightened them with the open end side. And I'm just amazed it was that easy. So next up, our crank arm. So as you can see, you have this hole right here. So to line up your correct park position, you have to make sure the motor's in park position number 1, which I'm going to do in a second. And that gets lined up there, and then you tighten the nut on top. So I'm almost positive I left this in park position last night when I function tested everything. But just in case, I'm going to hook it up to the switch, and that gives me a chance to show you guys the wiring, which is pretty simple. So to wire this thing, you are 100% bypassing all of your factory wiring. This is all the wires that came through that pass-through that we put in over there. The only ones that don't go into this is your ground. You're just going to chassis ground that. And then you're going to take a 12-volt switched ignition off of your fuse block or wherever you can get it. And that is going to go to this pin right here. The pin that is in the center right there that is not used, that's for your washer motor if you were using washers. As I said, you got to convert this to an electric washer pump. So that just goes to the pump. The other one that comes out of the pump goes to chassis ground. So then anytime you give this a push-push, you will get washer fluid. Also hook that up to the same, oh actually it doesn't matter if it's 12 volt because switch, because it only powers through there. So I've got my ground alligator clip on there. Gonna put my power alligator clip on here. And then we're gonna give this a turn. And we're on, and there's high speed, and we're low speed, and off. So now we're in park. And actually, before we put that bell crank on there, we have one last bracket to put on. So this hardware right here, that L bracket goes onto this hole right here, and that's just a bracket to stabilize this from moving up and down. Like, say you got a bunch of snow on your $150,000 resto mod, you don't want it to flex that and break anything. Right, no. So this bracket, the 1/4-20 bolt is going to go right onto there, and then this is just going to go down to the bottom of your cowl, and that's what the sheet metal screw and the washer is for. Okay, as you can see, I've got that bracket in there now, so this thing is solidly mounted. I put my bell crank on there just with this, not even touching it really, And what they say to do is to get something with a 1/4 inch shank, like a small screwdriver like this, bring that up, put it in the hole, and you are locked in your park position. So now I'm going to tighten that down with a wrench, get that screwdriver out of my way, and then fully tighten this thing. And then we can see how it works. Okay, so let's see what we got here. I got you kind of focused in on this area because I can't do a pan of the whole thing, but here's low speed. All right, that is nice and quiet. Super quiet. There's high speed. Nice. I'm happy with that. So much quieter than a stock system. And it is hidden. So the last thing we have to do is to put that block-off plate on the outside here. All right, so I showed you this block-off plate. It's painted body color already, and they give you stainless screws and washers to use. If this was a 1/4 thread, I would just use our stainless button heads we have, but this is I believe it's a 10/24 thread to fit where the factory stuff went, so I'm just going to use their stuff. Alrighty. Let me get situated here as I reach across 650 horsepower, and we will get this thing in here. You're probably staring at the back of my big fat head right now, but sorry. These have a little bit of paint in the threads, so they're not going to go in silky smooth, but not a big deal. Get this one started. Alright, get the top one started. It's literally all there is to this. And you don't need to weather seal this part. None of this stuff is... of course I dropped it. But none of this stuff is, you know, covered from the elements anyway. So just bolt this thing in place and call it a day. I'm going to go underneath the car and get that bolt and washer I dropped right now, and I'll be right back when this is finished. And there we go. Now, in a perfect world, building something as showy as this, you would just weld all this, bodywork it, and make it flush. This was the first time we've done one of these kits. First time I've ever even seen these things, so we just did it the way the instructions say. But from here on out, this would be getting bodyworked, be completely flat. So, as you can see, most of this firewall is completely flat. Even our vintage air plate, we welded that in, and we just have the 2 holes that I need to mount my vintage air from the inside. But yeah, that's not bad. Definitely cleans up that area now that you don't have a big old windshield wiper motor hanging off of the firewall. Well, there you go. There's your finished installation. I like to put a little line on that so I can see the sweep, so I can kind of judge where they are without having wiper arms on this. And that brings me up to my next point, wiper arms. So if you have the original hidden arm style that has the driver's side arm that also has a pivot rod that mounts to that little pin there, you will have to use 2 passenger side arms. Also, this will no longer be a hidden style system that has the detent so these drop way down here. They're going to be just at the bottom of the windshield now, which is totally fine. I mean, I don't really care about that. Oh, as well as, this is a system that just has high speed and low speed. They do offer a system that has your delay speeds as well. It's, I think, just over $80 more for the setup because you're basically just paying for the different switch than this system has. And I think that's 100% worth it because there's nothing wrong with high speed, low speed, but it's much more modern to have a delay setting. Plus, if it's just misting out, you don't need them to be going full low or full high. You just need, in 10 seconds, okay. But I like it. I'm impressed with the kit. So if you're looking for it, it's called RainGear Wiper Systems. Just put that in the Google machine and it'll pull up their site. They have them for all kinds of older muscle cars. And that's it. So what do we got for plans on this? We're getting our door handles back from paint, getting those in, then we can get the window glass in, start on the wiring on the interior. I have all of my gaskets and bolts and everything, and my nipple here that I need for my crossover, so we can get this intake 100% bolted on here. We're getting moving on it. It's coming along. We are hoping to have it done and have shakedown miles on it for Barrett-Jackson, Ohio this year, which is June, sometime in June, the 24th, 25th, I believe. Hoping. A lot of work going on here still that needs to be done, so we will see. But that's it for now. We'll have plenty of more videos coming out because I have no shortage of work here. So go get yourself some cool wipers that get rid of that ugly motor right there.